Might be time to stop living under a rock. Oh, wait a minute. Da-da-da-da-da. As a result, global central banks' money printing will have to accelerate for it to remain sustainable. They've got their arms dealers to please. Does this mean rates will go up? Oh, come on, don't be silly. Rates aren't allowed to go up. In case you noticed, remember, because Trump said you bring down those rates or else? In case you noticed, a modern version of YCC called the Treasuries Buyback Program has been in place for many years now. Uh, Furthermore, if you think that Kevin Warsh is going to do anything but cut Fed rates as Donald Trump wishes, it might be time to stop living under a rock. Just avoid government bonds because for many years they will be the worst investment to have as protection against monetary inflation. So no wonder the smart money's not going there. They know that would be the dumbest move.
What do you mean by smart money?
Well, the smart money is where the market, where we call market makers. They are the ones that dictate the final direction of the markets. So when market makers are placing money somewhere, we call that smart money because they know what's going on. Does that help?
Yeah.
Yep.
More manipulation.
Yeah, well, and there's manipulation, but there's also a certain point where those market makers, you got to know that they are on the right track. Many times, what we'll see throughout, especially in forex trading, what you'll see is that they will push the markets a certain direction, knowing that it's going to go the other way. But they're not doing that this time. They are recognizing that the bonds are going to be a bad investment simply because this war is not going well. If it started off well, we would have saw the markets go first thing Sunday night. But we didn't. I even said war is going to be great for the dollar. But not if the dollar's not winning. So this speeds my timelines, folks. This speeds up the timelines in my head. I thought that America would have actually been able to do it. I did not know that they would make their lies so obvious this time. We've just decreased our timeline by half. I was thinking that we would be going through this for another couple of years, that it would be sustained somewhat by the war. Folks, we just talked about it earlier up in this article. Palantir was in charge of intelligence against Iran. That is not a good sign.
Yes, but Iran's backed by China
Yeah.
and Russia, so they got good tech on their
I
side.
said this last week. I said, I don't know Trump knows what he's doing. Like, what the hell? There's no way he can know that he can go up against Iran. There's no way he can think that this is going to work out. But I honestly thought that what we saw over the weekend, I was like, did they actually, like, it was good footage. It was damn good footage. Some of it was new. It wasn't accurate. It was not telling the story. The supreme leader apparently died. That is true, and Iran is absolutely pleased. But did you know that the this was earlier? I need to take screenshots of these Twitter posts when I see them because the U.S. had someone in play. They were like, okay, we're going to take out the leader and we're going to put in the leader because that's the U.S. thing, right? We're going to win. We can't lose. We've never lost a war except for Vietnam and 1812 and the Bay of Ham. I mean, but anyway, they can't lose, right? So they go in, but the oh shit, where was I going with that? No, yeah, I can't remember where I was going with that. Long story short, Russia and China, absolutely, they were going to come to Iran's aid. Where was I going? They thought they were. Oh yeah, they thought they were going to replace the leader. I apologize. Got thinking about all the wars that U.S. lost. So, no, they didn't lose them. Sorry. Don't cut me off, YouTube. Um, so they had the leader all ready to go, replace the old one. The people they didn't even recognize them, and the people were like, no, yeah, we actually now have control of our government for the first time since the 70s when we started covering up all the women. What? What? Are you telling me that Iran is free? Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, screenshots. What are thoughts? I'm going to take a bite of food here. What are some thoughts? I know, right?
Well, I do find it interesting that they would think that the Iranian people would be so easy to manipulate into their approved leader when these people have been long oppressed by their government, installed government, and as you said, the decentralized sharing of information. I mean, people just take out their phone and start taking pictures, and the world knows.
We have Iranians, there's tons of this propaganda now about Iranian sleeper cells in North America.
Well, yeah, that's what ICE was all about.
I know. But the funny thing is, it's like, yeah, but guess what? There's tons of Iranians over here who have friends and family back at home. They're getting text messages of what's going on over there, and they're celebrating.
When I was working in massage in Edmonton, my last position was in a physiotherapy clinic, and the owner was Lebanese. And yes, they do the texting and the calling back and forth in between family. I mean, and the clientele was mostly Arabic. And so I would hear about stuff going on back home. It was wild. Very hard to process because I've never been in that situation where I would be worried about my family or friends being bombed.
Yeah.
Or de-lifed.
Isn't that crazy? The same thing happened in 2014 when the Donbass region was questioned, and Ukraine was all worried about, having to worry about them. There were people here, Ukrainians, so we're talking the people from the Ukraine, but that families that were from the West, they had a completely different perspective than families in the same Alberta, had a completely different story from families that were from the East. And in fact, the division between the Ukrainians was greater here simply because there was the conflict of agreement. Over in the Ukraine, the East and the West were not fighting because they didn't talk to each other. Oops, there's social media. It's pesky social media. Why do you think Netanyahu said that the social media battlefield was the most important one for them to dominate? Not, they didn't care about bombing Iran. That's a secondary thing. He has already said that that is the most important war out there. Why? Because it's all data. It's all just
it's perception driving. If I can drive your perception for the kind of data I want you to produce, better for me.
We can keep the projection going on that matrix.
Yeah. What
about corporate bonds? Back to the article. Dear Lord, no. Why? Well, the additional yield you would need to protect your portfolio against purchasing power devaluation would require you to be exposed to such a probability of seeing your investment being wiped out that it'll be nonsensical to even think about it. Nobody wants the dollar anymore. Yay! It's going to make me busy. Maureen, do you like to be busy? I know that you like to have more time in your garden than in front of the computer, and I agree. Definitely do that. Let's learn how to make a machine, show people how they don't have to use the dollar anymore, so that we can finally let that dissipate into the oblivion it ought to be in. Unless you haven't noticed, GFC 2.0 already started last year. I don't know what the GFC is that that's referencing. When pension funds and insurance companies saw their safe investments in First Brands and Tricolor loans being wiped out overnight. Oh, yeah. From there, the troubles in private credit started to spread to Blue Owl first, and now even larger players like Blackstone. There's an article, Blackstone's flagship private credit fund hit by record redemptions. Mark my words, the damage to the financial system and private credit space will cause to be greater by many orders of magnitude than the one subprime caused in 2008. I remember this was like, it was wild. Subprime, that was like a huge thing. There were a lot of people that I helped out in the car industry with their marketing. They launched their careers during that. That's nothing compared to what we will see next time. I'm going to show you this. What they're referencing in this chart here is actually quite significant. We call this a divergence. So there's this high here, right? And typically speaking, in a technical analysis, we'll look at this high and then this high from 2008 as kind of that, okay, there's a potential trend. But then this high here goes lower, doesn't it? It goes lower. So then that would be, from a technical analysis perspective, that would be, okay, we're all right. We're in the clear. We're not going to get worse than 2008. However, what's occurring here is the corporate index option. So there's the high yield index for bonds, and then there's the corporate index. Well, here, corporate index barely moved at this high. Barely moved. When this high occurred, of course, it went up, just followed the trend, right? Followed the economic boom. But here, look at this high, so low. But what happened during it? During that, when that high came up, corporate bond yield is not following the same pattern as that shoulder over here. So that is changing things, because this here is going to be that's going to be crazy. Look at how the corporate bond yield high beat out that previous, all of this high. So the technical analysis is now saying, oh, wait a second, they're aligning this time. Last time they kind of went, didn't quite jive, but they're aligning on the 2021. So that means that the corporate bond yield, that's going to go up, but he's saying that it still's not going to matter. So the when they don't go through with what is expected, it's going to amplify the problem even more than it did last time. That's what he's saying. This is going to be a slingshot effect. Like we've never seen we've not seen anything like this ever. This is not comparable to anything else. This this imagine that buildup of energy, and that buildup of energy would then expand into more energy later on. This would be like taking a pin and popping it. You have hundreds of times more energy built up than what we just experienced in subprime back in 2028. That's just one little area that was suffered, right? Where the loans, because that was when, mortgage fraud happened and all that stuff. That was all that. That was just insane. We're going to watch The Big Short on Thursday. Because what The Big Short represents, and that huge, it was the worst it had ever been up to that point. But that was just mortgages that fed the subprime industry. Okay, there's one little tiny sector of finance. Every sector of finance is going to be impacted by magnitudes more than what occurred in 2028. Subprime is going to be like they're going to have to absolutely renegotiate everything about their currency.
Paul, 2028.
2008, he meant.
Oh, did I say 28?
Yeah.
I apologize. Yeah, the 2008 crash. That is, it's going to look like this on the chart. After these 2 points, that's what we were. So I went into a little bit of an analysis there. Maybe you didn't have to, but I wanted to give you an idea of what this chart was saying in order of magnitude, because the words didn't quite do it for me. That
Okay.
chart says a lot.
Okay, on that chart, the top line, the solid medium blue line, that is private bonds.
That one, no, that's the high yield index on the Bank of America's bond. So that's like your government bonds. The dotted line, that's going to be corporate bonds. So private sector.
Okay, so corporate bonds are private sector, like Bill Gates and da da da.
Yep, your Fortune 500 companies, that kind of stuff.
And what companies are this solid line then?
Ooh, that's government bonds. So things like infrastructure. They're anticipating the returns from those bonds. They're anticipating those returns to come back from taxes, because taxes are supposed to pay for infrastructure. So that's what those are the long-term bonds on infrastructure, typically.
Okay.
Good questions. So yeah, it's the corporate bonds that they should be going through the roof right now, because wartime's great for the dollar. When things are good for the dollar, that's the best thing ever for the corporate bonds. But even the corporate bonds, they're not even being issued. They're not even bothering. They're like, no, we're not going to take on debt of the US dollar. Why? Why would we take on that? Why would we take on anything for the US dollar? Who in their right mind would want a US dollar right now?
Well, where is the money going, Paul, from these bonds? Is it going into gold and silver? Is it where's the transfer going? Or have you noticed that, or what's going on? Or is it pent up? It's pent up.
It'll be stable coins. Those are the new bonds.
Stable coin, what is that?
Great question. Stable coins are the coins that in crypto, they are the coins that are pegged to the dollar.
Oh, geez.
It's the same game. It's just a different playing field. They got to make more different dollars so that everybody can fight over which dollar is the best. So yeah, that's where the bond, that's where everything's transferring into is the digital bond, which is going to be the stable coin. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just goofy that we think it's changing somehow. No, it's just going digital.
I thought our government made good cartoon material, but this is better.
Yeah, somebody's got to come up with a good cartoon for
Great.
for this story. Hey, look, isn't this a crazy, amazing story? And I feel bad now all of a sudden because I'm making fun of something that's going to create a lot of pain for a lot of people.
Well, Saturday Night Live could do this instead of their news report. It's kind of like an economic report of is that
Oh, I'm so grateful, Maureen, that you handle this so well. Oh, you're the one that's being most impacted by, well, we all are, but you are being the most immediately impacted by this. My heart goes out to you and your families.
it hasn't hit me yet. So, and besides, I have like some safeguards in place because I've been working with you. So, and of course, just what else can you do, at this point? But try to find a way to endure. This is my new thing now: is the enduring consciousness can handle the ups and downs.
What's the cell?
Sure can.
Ron asked the question, what's the cell wisdom right now?
The cell wisdom. Like as in, what do you mean? Like when to sell?
What assets should you be
Getting rid of.
getting rid of?
Yeah, moving.
Oh, I would be getting out of real estate ASAP. That would be the first thing. Like if anybody has, I shouldn't say that. You should get out of mortgages. Real estate, if you own it, do not let go. If you own land, if you own property, land, title, if you have title to that land, I should say, hold on for dear life. And if you can, grow off of it, grow food off of it. If the people get their shit together, they just might be able to get the military, because we have it on good authority, because this was something that Wayne Peters went through back before COVID. Before COVID, he was at the War Memorial in Ottawa. He was renting on his phone. He was renting it was $180 a month at the time. He was renting data so that people at the War Memorial, he could help with them with their Wi-Fi. And with that, they had a little group of people live streaming and going in live what's going on, sharing the news. And at night, he was in a tent. They had tents. At night, he was approached by a colonel in the military, plain clothes, snuck into the campground and talked with Wayne Peters for hours into the night. 2 nights in a row. And he said, you have to know that we see what's happening and we can't do anything about it. And that's the hardest part of our job right now, is that we see what's happening and we can't do anything about it. And the long and short of it is, all the people have to do is call them. And the military can immediately remove their government from the position and have constitutional conventions, and when the people just decide who it is that they want and how they want to be governed, a lawful nation is formed. That's all it takes. So if the people could just get their shit in a group, poop in a group, shit in a pile, whatever, get it all together, put it in a pile, and listen to the reasoning that have been telling them to do this for 2,400 years, it'd be nice. It would be great. Same thing in the States. The States have been usurped. That was in the late 1800s. The States lost their republic. But they have it still. It's still there. It's just behind what's there. The fraud that's in front of it is what they believe to be true. Canada? We're basically in a state of managed anarchy. There is no government. There's no real entity. It's a military outpost. That's why it's called the Governor General. That's all it is. It's a military outpost of the crown. The crown gave away in 1930. But because the Lynchurian elite at the time didn't want to see the people have governance over their nation, they said, no, we're not going to do it. We like how much power and control we have over these people. And so still to this day, the Governor General rules over the dominion known as Canada, in conjunction with the Privy Council, and there is no government. Zero. It's called de facto. Just because it's not in fact. It's technically in law because the people consent, but it's not actually in fact. It's not grounded in any reality. It doesn't exist. Okay. Eventually. Okay, let's go back. Here's 2 points. It should not be surprising anymore to see central banks diversifying their monetary reserves away from government bonds, of course, especially U.S. treasuries. So even the banks are going to soon be saying, yeah, I guess we're done with this whole Federal Reserve thing, aren't we? Rest assured, at least one more leverage. Eventually bailing out upcoming GFC2 will be expensive beyond anyone's imagination. Yeah. Great financial crisis, maybe? But rest assured, at least one more large government-sponsored bailout will be coming in our lifetime because no politician in the government at the time things blow up is going to be willing to stomach letting the modern and distorted financial system implode. They will hang on for dear life. Narcissists do that, though. Whenever they start losing control, they just squeeze harder. This means there will be another biblical amount of debt issued in the future, and all of it, of course, monetized by the major central banks via quantitative easing. Who are the new banks, folks?
The
Does
new
anybody-
banks.
Yeah, who's the new banks?
The exchanges.
Yeah, that's where we go. Yep. Who owns the exchanges? Those are the banks. Yes, Coinbase is the most. I think they have between them and BNB. I think they compete back and forth for number one. Guess who owns them? I will give you 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't even fucking count. Does anybody know?
Not me.
BlackRock. Owns both of them. They compete for first. BlackRock owns them both.
Oh, they're good on both sides.
And then they're just going to issue out their stable coins. BNB already has one. Nobody wants to do business with them. Not that, well, I should say, nobody outside of retail. Retail references the people. That's the people who end up going and actually buying these things with their dollars that they get from their paychecks. They call that retail. So the only people that are following the stablecoins are retail. Tether, USDT, there is not a single nation in the world that is going for that. It's just another bond, but it's issued by a different form because it's going to be the data-driven bond. All of those things, all data-driven. Everything is going under data. Elon has already hinted that he's creating the XBuck, which is going to be a stable coin. Why do you think he bought Twitter? It was for the data. He didn't care about free speech. He just wanted the data. Isn't it amazing watching this unfold?
Okay, Paul, now you've blown everything up. Tell us how to put back a little piece so that we can put our feet down.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I'm just going to look here. I do want to get through the rest of this.
So where did you get this news report, Paul?
This is from Just Dario. He's a commentator and a major investor, international investor. And I've been following him for quite some time. I'd say 3 or 4 years. And his analysis has always just been so bang on and so fact driven. That's why a lot of times when things happen in the world, I don't really provide too much commentary, and I kind of go, well, I don't really know yet. You see, I haven't read his article about it. Everybody says, you're so smart. And I'm just like, no, I'm just a parrot. Just a parrot. And I just figured out what is most advantageous to parrot. That's all. Hard knocks. It's going to be a school of hard knocks for a lot of people, Maureen. This is an answer to your question. And I'm the chat that I had on Sunday with the people that were from all around the world. We had 7 or 8 people there, all around the world asking the same question. What do we do? And I can only stress that people make sure that they have several bridges between the old financial system and the new one. Have lots of bridges. The bridges are the exchanges. I recognize nobody wants to use them, especially nobody on this call wants to use them. And I have to say, because they ask for all your information, right? They ask for this ID or that passport, and you got to put in. Sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes you have to still send in more documentation, like your bills. You have to put like the credit card statement. Why? Because it has your physical address on it. They need to know exactly where you are. Nobody on this call wants to go through that. However, you need a bridge. There are going to be 2 worlds that we interact with, the old one and the new one. And that old one, I recognize you've got a lot of equity over there. You need to bring that over into the new one ASAP. That's the practicality of it. That's the steps. Once you have that in play and you make a few transactions, you start to get a feel for how it works over on that second track. But that second track requires a new paradigm. And the practicality of it is wonderful. I've given those plans away for people. For years, I've been giving people the plan on how to do that. But the problem that I'm facing whenever I'm showing this to people is that they don't take on that new mindset. And because they're not, and people here are, that's why you're here. You've taken on that new mindset. You wouldn't show up to this boring chat about economics if you didn't have the mindset. Why do you think I've been doing this? I've been live streaming. Audrey, you and I started this almost 2 years ago. We're like 2 or 3 months away from 2 years. I've been going live streaming on YouTube for almost 2 years. And right now, I still have 0 people watching. What the hell are you even doing here? It's because you've got a paradigm that allows you to see what it is that I'm sharing with you. You can see the truth. The vast majority of people, they're given the tools that I've been giving you. They've been given the tools and they don't apply a single thing because they're not even interested in learning about the paradigms.
What does Dario, I know it, you know, because I've seen him on YouTube and kind of looked at him, but like you are a wonderful translator of him because you know what to pay attention to. So I know he's been saying that too, but you know, it's like it's hard because it's so scary. You know, it's hard to make that transition.
Yeah.
It really, and so it's like, yeah, I can see that, but yet actually doing it and like, I don't know, Paul, you know, it's like, how do you make that leap? It's like being at the edge of a plane door, you know, with you're hoping your parachute's been packed properly.
You know, Maureen, what you're bringing up is something that I've been thinking a lot about lately. I have patterns that I hold still to this day that I am absolutely terrified to let go of. Identifiers that I still cling to. Why? Because there's probably some capacity along the way that I really still appreciate having, and I'm not willing to give it up. There's a payoff. I simply don't know how, I simply didn't the principle that of letting go of that identifier. I was able to do it when it came to the monetary system. But I can tell you right now that that is the only area of my life where I have been willing to expose myself to that vulnerability. It's the only area of my life, I assure you. I am still so thick-headed and hard-headed, like I'm dense in every other area of my life in letting go of those patterns. I have no judgment to people who can't visualize the peace that surpasses understanding on the other side of having that control over your equity. All I can say is that it's worth it, and that I look forward to learning how I can let go of patterns in my life that are holding me back, so that then I can be of more service to mankind in helping them do it with this.
Do you mind to give an example of what you're referring to as patterns?
Yeah, sure. I don't mind at all.
Just one.
Oh, yeah, I made a legal fiction. I made it law in my life when I was 4 years old. What happened was it was April 1st, and I had just learned about April Fool's Day, and I thought it was the best thing ever. I thought it was so cool. I get to play tricks on people. I'm allowed to play tricks on people. I couldn't play tricks on people before. I wasn't allowed to do that. But April 1st, I was allowed to. So that morning, my dad was he was a forester here in Alberta, and at the time he was actually a contract supervisor for logging trucks. So he left early mornings all the time. But 6 o'clock in the morning, April 1st, it's still dark up. And I went and I said, "Oh, there's a moose on the front lawn, in the front yard." Now, of course, it's dark. So that had to have been really close. My dad, he stopped putting on his boots. He ran over to the front window and he's like, "Where? Where?" Meanwhile, I jumped over back onto the couch and laughed my head off. I thought that was so funny. I got him. I tricked him. And I was allowed to. I was allowed to do that. And he goes, "Oh, you got me. I'll get you back." He went to work. And I went about my day. It was the best day ever. Oh, isn't that so cool? I actually could start to like this guy. Because my mom married him after. He was new to me. Well, that evening I was in the bathtub. and warm, you know, and I would do the thing. I figured out really early on that if I brought my body back and forth in the bathtub, I could actually create waves back and forth like this. And I thought that was so cool. So I was doing that, relaxed as could be in the nice warm water. When all of a sudden, down the hall, I heard screaming, bloody murder. The house was on fire. Now, I don't really remember a whole lot of details after that, but I remember hearing him stomping down the hallway to the door and thrashing in the tub, uncontrollably thrashing in terror. And he burst open the bathroom door and grabbed me by my shoulder, like right here by my arm, and just picked me up by one arm. And the side door to the trailer was right outside the bathroom door. He didn't even have to go down the hallway. He literally took my shaking, naked, cold, dripping, wet body and threw it outside. Said, "Get out! Get out! The place is gonna burn down! Get out!" And then, on top of it all, so there, I'm thrown out, and I'm looking at April 1st in Alberta. Gary, you know what it's like at 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
The frozen, you know, that frozen bed of, because it gets a little bit warm, right? But then it freezes. There's a frozen bed of ice that was on the porch. And then there was the snow. Well, when my feet went in there, it felt like daggers going into my feet. You know what that feels like, right?
Yeah.
On top of it all, the well-being of my life, the reason why I could have a meal, went back into the burning house with my mom. And I remember, this is the last thing I remember. I remember looking out to the woods because we lived very remote, 20 minutes from the nearest town. My neighbor was 2 miles away and I was 4 years old. I remember looking out into the woods and passing out. And I had a moment where I actually felt my spirit leave my body. And I remember looking back down, thinking, thank God I don't have to be there for that. Then I heard the laughter. He opened the door, grabbed my shaking, and I was going like this with my feet. Like this, just going like this constantly with my feet. It's just tapping. And I don't remember it, but he only told me that later. So he picked me back up, brought me inside, just laughing his head off. Laughing his head off. He got a towel and patted me dry. I was still just shaking uncontrollably because my spirit had come back. So my physical body was literally just shaking for minutes. My mom, she was in the other room, like it was like a living room and then the kitchen. She was in the kitchen in the furthest possible corner she could be, looking back at me like, what just happened to my son? And I made a rule that day, Gary. There was no negotiation from that moment forward. I was not allowed to have fun. I still struggle with that pattern.
Okay. Yeah. I
think everybody kind of has an understanding of what I mean now, eh? We create these rules, we create these legal fictions. You know what's really kind of eye-opening for me was about 2 years ago, I got into this recognition that what happened to me was not nearly as damaging to my life as what I made it mean.
Self-made matrix.
Yep. I don't know how to communicate to another with ease, the paradigm shift that's necessary for people to self-govern their equity. When I figure that out, you can bet your boots it's going to be because I figured out how to have fun without ever thinking to myself, I'm going to be in trouble for this. Have a lot of fun with you guys, though. Market analysis. How's that for March 3rd?
Well, it would be kind of nice if this news that you are giving us is an April Fool's joke. Sorry.
28 days early.
Hmm. Hmm. What a great question. And I know I went a little long-winded there, but I'm really grateful you were receptive to that message. Thank you, everybody.
Very impactful about how we have this. And I liked the way the gentleman, what's his name? I can't see it.
Oh, Gary, yeah.
Gary summed it up like a self-created matrix.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good image of it. But boy, very impactful, Paul.
That's not my that message or that wording comes from Aaron Abke or something. 4DU University.
Mm.
You know, there's the matrix, and then there's the matrix I make of where I'm at.
Inside the matrix, yeah. Yeah.
It really gets fucked up. Or it can be more fucked up than the other.
Yeah.
Sorry about my language. I'm getting emotional here about this.
It's all good, brother. It's all good. You know, is it the trauma that really hurts us that bad, or is it the trifle we make about that trauma? You know, I don't want to make justifications for how he treated me, of course, but I got to take my own self-responsibility of the pattern that I held to be true in that moment.
Peter Levine, that's what he's made his whole work out of, is how animals without, this mind stuff that makes up meaning and wants meaning in life, how it actually it handles the trauma that occurs to the body. And it is about getting it out of the nervous system before, it implants, and creates a self-created, like yourself generated and self, where you keep it going, pattern.
A not self theme.
Yeah, not self theme. And then it contracts. It just continues. It's like, you can imagine cement going through the body as far as like how, as you age, what happens with that trauma as it, as you keep repeating it grows in its cementness. So it is and when you get to be 82, 83, it's like, wait a minute, I have this one area that's still alive. But anyway, I appreciate you seeing that it is, even though you can see it, it's, and you can't unsee it. Once you've seen it, you kind of know it, but you still don't want to believe it. Mm. You still are in, like when you go into a theater, it's suspense of disbelief, that you're in the old paradigm and that whole thing of like, okay, well, let's see how this works. Oh, I'm old. And I mean, these are the stories that, I'm old. I don't think, blah, blah,
Yep.
I'll just die. That's what will happen to me. And so that's kind of what I tell myself. So there is some lack of motivation to say, because I don't have a life expectancy that's very long. But for you, if I were 40 or 50, then I might, go, okay, where you can see life ahead of you. You can see, oh, this is the way the future will be. My future is very short and kind of like always wispy, as far as the expectancy of that.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
what do
as you're talking, I'm wondering in my head, like I'm wondering in what ways, because you're right, the physical body that you currently inhabit be passing away, but that eternally you will continue to persist. In fact, you're probably gonna choose another existence at some point or the other. And what I envision myself exploring what is next and what choices do I make that allow the eternal to experience something new, something better, something influenced. And I don't know what I like. I wish I knew where to start with such a thing. I've still got to figure out this thing. Audrey Lynn, you got a point to make.
What's being talked about here, I can see through the lens of a system that I've known about for a long time, but am just currently beginning to pay more attention to. And it's called human design, and it looks at our birth information through the filters of 5 different modalities: the Kabbalah, I Ching, astrology. Oh gosh, anyway, 2 more, and they showed 2 different aspects of how we present into the world. One aspect is our personality, our mind, how our mind functions, and then the other aspect is our design, which is what we've come here to learn and or express in this existence. And the marrying of those 2 sides into one being gives a definition. And then there is a definition on how we intake information and how we process it through what is known as our authority. That, are we emotionally based? Are we mentally based? Physically based? And how to process this information, not as in, as in like an astrology, having bad aspects, going to have a bad life because you have these bad aspects. Human design looks at the patterns and says nothing's right, nothing's wrong. You're perfect as you are because this is the incarnation that you chose to come in. And marrying this thought with reading the Kolbrin really gives me a level of anxiety, but that is out of hope, because it gives me the possibility to understand why I'm here. Why is it that I show up in the world as I do? And how can I show up better and maximize that for the people who come within my aura, within my sphere of influence? And how can patterns that may appear to be dissonant actually be creating great music? So I think here's the experimenter in me, which is totally part of my pattern. Yeah, anyway, that I look forward to dancing through these charts and these patterns and learning more about how I function so that I can be of greater service to those who allow me to serve. I think there's still time for you, Maureen.
Oh, plenty.
I think plenty of time. Oh, you're just a sweet young thing. Goodness gracious, you're currently only 1. When I was 40, my children gave me a bad time about being old. So I always add my digits together and stay under 10. So as a 1, naps are great. Temper tantrums are normal. Stomping of feet, wild clothes and hair and makeup, and just whatever is beautiful, perfect. I'm currently 9, so I have to be a little bit more responsible this year. But, oh, I'm looking forward to that one.
Wonderful.
There's joy in that. I really appreciate the joy that I experience in your talk, in your expression of yourself, and what you're interested in now. That's very sweet. It really is.
Any other reflections? I don't feel like reading the rest of that. Unless you want me to. We can go over more if you want.
No doubt this is a little more physical, but we're never over 7 because every
Oh yeah, we were
of our body
Oh, right.
part.
Yeah.
And that's the masses look at these ages and they got a perception of what that is, whether you're using a figure of 19 or a figure of 99. And maybe it's, yeah, that's just a perception.
I love it. Maureen, share more. I can see there's more on your mind.
That is just one thing of who, it's like a facet of this, this crystal that I am. So it's the collective conscious and collective unconscious, and it's there. And it's what is maybe the first filter that moves through. But, the internal world is so amazing. And what I meet, like in my life, I'm meeting just walking in our neighborhood, I'm meeting all these amazing young women who are having their life just open up before them in extraordinary ways, fulfillment. And it's just wonderful, going, wow, the news belies what I don't see, and what I hear belies, this wonderful world that's presented to me. And Audrey Lynn, just like you talking, or Paul, your expressive, creative storytelling, the way you tell something to have an impact. I mean, look at it. It's like, it's amazing. It's so creative. And it's like, okay, this is what's being presented. And in a way, what a wonderful thing. And then the survival of the body becomes less prominent, less, I guess it's actually a defense maybe for myself, just like, okay, you're going to tell me bad news. Here's the defense that I have showing up. But it doesn't talk about, that's not my daily life. That's not my experience in life. It is one of the things that in the middle of the night comes up to be processed and to have purification. For me, it's a little devil. And one of the things, this is right now what I'm interested in, is Jung and his description of Christ and the 3 temptations, and how he describes what those temptations are and what they mean to the ego. And like, wow, this is cool. Yes, I'm stuck in all 3 of the temptations. And that's what Christ came to do, is to show us to be aware of this. No matter what happens to you, just bring consciousness to it. Consciousness can bear it. And so he went to the crucifixion, and the transformation that happens is you don't get out of that kind of thing.
Right.
You move through it. And then the transformation happens out of that. And that's the gift, that it's, why have you forsaken me? Can you think of the bottom that the alcoholic hits? Why have you forsaken me? Everything leaves you. And consciousness can hold that. It can hold that. Auschwitz and Viktor Frankl, it can hold that.
Right.
We can be aware no matter what. So that, with that being said, I think, wow. And I had a very good friend who was we worked together. She worked with multiple personalities and satanic worship survivors and all of that. And when she found out she was going to die, she said, I just want to die consciously. And I just thought, yeah. So that's kind of where my cutting edge is right now, is like consciousness. What can it hold? What can it what it can endure everything? Because when you look and you think, oh, other people have died, everybody has died, when you get to be a certain place, they died, they did it. Oh yes, I can do that. Because believe it or not, there's like, oh, I don't know if I can die.
Yeah.
Hey, how do you do that? Is there a workshop on that? No. But it's like, okay, it is something like you look at and think like marriage. Like Ron and I, when we got married, we said, okay, we're going to actually go through the ceremony and tap into the collective unconscious about marriage, male and female, husband, wife, and let us purify that. That was our intention. That was specifically mine. And Ron kind of warmed up to it because, what else could he do? I won't say, just because he wanted to be married. He wanted to be with me. So wasn't that wonderful? And I wanted to be with him. So, but that's what it is. So now at this time in life, that's my primary, believe it or not. Talk about equity. I want my equity to be in consciousness and to make a conscious, like one of the things I'm saying now, only a conscious yes has authority in my field. And it's from that sovereignty thing.
That's nice.
Isn't that a beautiful statement? Just that right there.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, yeah, I really like that. What happens when I say that? What happens in my body? What happens to my life? So that's kind of, I didn't think I was going to say all this, but in the end, it's to look at the news and to see what arises in me to do right now. I mean, first of all, it's like to live my life the best that I can and stay conscious. I'm a manifest generator, by the way. And
there you are. Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to get involved in that because I was an astrologer forever. And when it came out in the, whenever I got a hold of it in the early turn of the century. That's kind of an old person thing to say, isn't it? That's about 2000. That's how I remember it, though.
Yeah.
And it just never emerged. No interest came.
Yeah.
See, and I can't force myself.
No.
I'm either interested or I'm interested in what you have to say, Paul. Other people like Marcia looks at me and said, I wish I could, be where you are, have the, and I said, well, you have to go. To be interested, but if the interest isn't there, and what can you do? You go where you're interested.
Yeah.
You go where there's life.
I think that this brings up a beautiful thing. What I've been learning from, big thing that I've been taking away from the Kolbrin, is that there is only one God. That's true. There is only one creator. There's one supreme being that generates all of this. And man, in his greatest attempts to be able to describe that being from the limited perspective that he has, sometimes designates other beings as gods, simply because it's the closest thing they can relate to, but that it's all the same representation. It's the same being, and that none of them are on the wrong track. They're all on the right track in their own ways. And that's what I think I see with all these different modalities, is there is going to be one that you gravitate towards, and there's going to be some that you don't. It doesn't make them not work.
That's totally, I am opening up to that. In marriage, you find I want it my way. Both of you were saying it, and they're different. They're different ways.
Yeah.
So, but it's like, that just what you said. It's like this unfoldment of my way, this is how I look at life, and this is what happens out of me. And then this is what happens out of Ron. And he does it differently. And can I just love him wholly in the way he does something? And so that's the question I asked me. And is it a big deal? Can I just put away, he makes breakfast and he leaves everything out. Can I just put it away? He does that. He'll come in and just clean the kitchen. Won't even think anything of it. And I'm going, oh, why did he leave that out? And why did he, so it's like, and these are the ways, the little ways that it's like just what you're saying, Paul, that God manifests.
Yeah. Market analysis, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for showing up.
What is the Colburn? That's a big question at the end of the call, but
Yeah, do you have a copy there close by, Audrey Lynn? I'll bring you a nice and big screen here. It's about the size of the Bible. And in the past, up until about the last 50 years or so, it was the most censored book on the planet.
can you
Yep.
send me a link, Audrey? Would you? Thank you. You're becoming a good friend, Audrey Lynn. I don't know if you know it or not, but from this end, when I get your emails, I always think I see this like sun shining. You just are.
So I'm a projector. And not in the way in which you would comprehend it, Paul.
No.
No.
Oh,
Maureen,
Paul.
Maureen would understand that,
Yeah,
having
yeah.
touched that system.
My grandson is a projector. He's such a unique being. He is both. They're so unique. They're such unique beings. He and his father, and they're like two peas in a pod. They just are.
What's his area of interest right now?
You know what? I don't know because I don't have much communication with him. I don't know him as an adult. I, have the family thing, but
Yeah.
not really. He's not interested in letting me know. He will though. Love is.
Yeah. This was great. Oh, there's a private chat that I missed. Oh, yes. Audrey, thanks for putting that up there. Yep. Only a conscious yes. What is the rest?
I have thoughts on that. It's
What is the rest?
the influences around us that we are susceptible to, that
I-
we're open to receiving.
That's the patterns. Is that Gary asking that? That's a great question. I mean, I think we spend our life, Ron and I spend our life, we spend a lot of time paying attention to that. What are the other things and identifying them? And yeah,
And it doesn't
Pattern.
make me sad. It's simply a thing of awareness. Is this, can I respond to this incoming input in my naturalness? Or am I being called to respond to it in a way in which is not natural to me, but I've been conditioned to do out of safety?
Wow.
beautifully said.
Thank you.
Hmm. Market analysis. I can't get over it. It's like we have market analysis, and I have never, ever had a market analysis go the way that I thought it was going to go. So thank you, everybody. The spontaneity and inclusivity, people sharing, that is the greatest gift I can see unfolding in all of this.
Mystery analysis.
Yeah.
Where will that conversation go?
Yeah. Everybody have a good rest of the day.